Hello, everybody. Today I'll be talking about the European Research Council efforts to level the playing field to our applicants, with particular focus on women. My name is Claudia Jesus-Rydin, and I'm a Senior Research Program Officer at the ERC. I'm also the coordinator of the ERC Gender Activity Group, and since 2018, I've been nominated as chair of the newly created Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Group at the European Geosciences Union, EGU. So I'll try to share some slides here with you. Let me see if I get this right. Okay. So the ERC was founded in 2007 with a mission to encourage the highest quality research in Europe through competitive funding and to support investigator-driven frontier research across all fields on the basis of scientific excellence. So the ERC funds research across all domains, including life sciences, social sciences and humanities, physical sciences and engineering. What we have done at the ERC is we have somehow compartmented all these research fields into 25 panels. What I do at the ERC is I'm coordinator of one of these research panels, these research areas. So I'm the coordinator of the Earth System Science panel, so the PE10. So after more than 10 years, the ERC has now funded over 10,000 top researchers, and they are based in different host institutions, which are located over 800 research institutions located both in EU member states and associated countries. In addition to the principal investigators, the ERC has also funded over 75,000 professionals that are employed within the European Research Council research team, so within the projects. As a result of the ERC funding, the bibliometrics show that over 180,000 scientific articles have been published. So I will show you now one last slide about general metrics. And this is just to emphasize that the ERC is focused on supporting the next generation of researchers in Europe, with 2/3 of the ERC grants being allocated to early stage principal investigators. Now, sharing these figures serves mainly one purpose. I want you to understand that the ERC became recognized and respected worldwide in just a very few years after its creation. And the ERC Scientific Council, so our governing body, understands that the credibility and visibility worldwide, alongside with the recognized impact on researchers' careers, carries great responsibility. So the mere possibility of gender biases, or any other biases for that matter, in grant peer review is a matter of serious concern by funders, not just the ERC, of course, because this can compromise not only the fairness, but also the legitimacy of the evaluation system. Therefore, ensuring equal opportunities is a basic principle, and its absence can damage the credibility of all the decisions that are made. So the ERC has, since 2008, so very early in the life of the ERC, a working group dedicated to gender. So it's called the ERC Gender Working Group. And this working group is responsible for the drafting, revising, and implementation of the ERC gender equality plans. We will soon have a third version of the ERC equality plan, but you can see some of the goals of the current one and some of the ambitions that we've had, and also gives you an idea of the actions that we've been taking. So the ERC funds 3 main PI-driven grants. So it's the starting grant, the consolidated grant, and the advanced grant. Let me move this here. Maybe it's better. Okay, so for each of these calls, there is what we call an eligibility window. So eligible applicants to a starting grant must be 2 to 7 years after PhD and 7 to 12 years after PhD to apply to a consolidated grant. In case of the advanced grant, there is no eligibility window, but we assess applicants based on the track record of the last 10 years. So since its establishment, the ERC has taken numerous actions to tackle imbalances, and I will mention it afterwards, and to ensure fair and equal opportunities to all candidates, whilst keeping excellence as the sole criteria evaluation of projects. So these actions are, some of them, focusing on the eligibility windows and the track record window. This is why I'm showing you this slide. So, first call, 2007, we had as a possibility for eligibility extension to mothers of 12 years per child born, note that it's bold, after PhD. And there was a limit of 2 to 4.5 years. This means that a mother who had 4 children, the 4th one would not be counting. So only 3 of them, which made up to 4.5 years. In 2010, we immediately realized that there was a need for some correction of these rules. And we decided that eligibility extension to mothers would be up to 18 months per child born. It didn't matter if it was before or after PhD. In 2013, we removed the section that we had in the ERC forms that was dedicated to scientific leadership potential, because it was mainly a self-evaluation section. And actually, we could see that there was so many imbalances from the style of the applicant that it was just better, since it was a self-evaluation, it was just better to remove it. And 2014, we introduced a model CV template in the application forms for these grants. We resisted a bit to implement this CV template, since we have to serve such broad scientific communities, that it was not so easy to come up with a CV template that would serve all of these different communities. But the feedback that we received from our panel members pointed in the direction that was important, that within each community, they were able to more easily compare track records. And in fact, it was a positive measure that it still remains up to today. In 2014, we removed the eligibility window, which I mentioned to you, that existed since 2007, which were these 4.5 years possibility to extend the eligibility window. So a mother that had more than 3 children was able to use all of their, all the children, or these 18 months per child to all the children, and not just the first 3 of them. We also introduced another possibility for justifying extensions of eligibility, periods of time demonstrated, of course, with certificates that are taken off work to care for a sick relative, We know this is not specific to women, of course, and men are also eligible to provide for this, to benefit from these sick relative extensions. But we know that traditionally is mainly women that take care of these actions, of this support to sick relatives. We also introduced a rule which was to focus the track record assessment on a limited number of publications. So 5 for the youngest funding schemes and 10 for the most senior one, instead of allowing the candidates to just put a limited list of number of publications in their CV. In 2016, we started to show a video on unconscious bias to our panel members. This is done at step 1. So it's a video that is focused on a recruitment process and identifies several potential types of biases. It's not specific to an ERC panel. It's specific to a recruiting panel, but it's been very well received, and it raised a lot of good points and good discussions within the panels, our reviewers. In 2017, we highlighted in the calls text, so what we call the work program of the ERC, that activities promoting equal opportunity or gender balance are considered eligible costs. So this was already possible since 2014, but this was only shown in the grant agreement contract. So once you sign the contract, and we thought it was much more relevant to already announce it while PIs, candidates, were drafting their proposal, rather than to just find out when they were signing their research contract once they were finalized and funded. In 2018, we initiated a campaign of training on unconscious bias awareness, our scientific officers, so colleagues like me, that sit in panel members in evaluation panel meetings, to raise their awareness for unconscious bias, but also to empower them to intervene when potential biases were identified. And in 2009, we continued with this campaign. So, and now all scientific council, all scientific officers and ethics officers at the ERC have been trained on unconscious bias awareness, as well as has our scientific council, so our governing body, and the ERC executive agency management. In 2020, we did something totally different. So the ERC organizes an annual conference every year, and it's focused on different topics. The one of 2020 was focused on sex and gender dimension in frontier research. And this was in November, and it was a virtual event, of course, and we had high-level talks across all scientific fields. We had 2 European commissioners, so the one for research and the one on equality. We had also 2 members of the European Parliament joining the discussion, a policy discussion at the end. And we had over 1,700 registrations from all continents. And 66% of our participants were actually researchers. In fact, if you are interested, the whole event was recorded and it's available at the ERC website. So you can just visit the ERC event, and then there is the name of the workshop. And you can watch all the videos of all the talks, and you can you can just select which one you would like to see from the different sessions, and it's still available for free, of course. So now let's go to the data. So the ERC has what I normally say, a nearly compulsive and obsessive relation with data. So it collects and analyzes data for each call, and with particular focus on demographics of applicants. After each call, a set of statistical data is published online. So you can search for it, and it's available to anybody that goes to our website. But okay, let's focus now on the data that we have here available. So we've split it to see evolution. We've split it, the data in two groups. So we have the calls from 2007 to 2013, and now we have for Horizon 2020, the calls from 2014 to 2019. And what I would like you to look at, so you have, of course, starting grant, consolidated grant, advanced grant, but you also have the total, so the average of all the calls. And whereas there was a gap between, on the success rate between men and women in the first 7 years of the ERC, with 8% to women and 11% to men, what we can see now is that they both have equal success rates of 13%. Okay, now I feel that after showing this slide at different events, I now have the need to show you this, to tell you that the evolution in the success rate and that it's now equalized between men and women is not due to any positive discrimination, nor affirmative actions, nor quotas. This to say that every ERC awardee is selected based on excellence only and absolutely worthy of the grant that they have received. Nobody gets a free pass at the ERC. So if you got an ERC grant, men or women, you can be sure that you got it because you deserved it. Okay, now regarding women representation. So you have applicants, you have grantees, and panelists. Again, we've split it according to the two work programs, so the 2007 to 2013 and 2014 to 2019. And again, so what you see in the first column, it's always the panelists, so membership in the different panels, so the people that review the proposals and makes decisions on who gets to be funded. And there you see the representation of women. Then you have applicants, the middle column, and you have grantees on the last column to the right. And what the main thing I want to show you is, I would suggest we focus on the gray ones, is the evolution on representation of panelists that evolved from 28% to 33%, the evolution from applicants from 25% to 29%, and panel and grantees, so from 20% to 29%, so the same proportion as applicants. So this, what can I say? This is still not ideal, of course, and especially if you look at advanced grant, where we have submissions still now of 17% for women. So, of course, the work is never done, and we have to continue vigilant and see where we can continue making progress. And here are our future goals. So we hope to see more women applying, especially in advanced grant, as I just mentioned, but also to maintain the diversity in our panels, which is not always easy. And I just show you here for one of the calls, this was the acceptance rate for men and for women. So acceptance rate means when we invite scientists to sit, and these are high-level scientists, as you probably know, to serve in our panels to evaluate our proposals, we have a much higher acceptance rate from men than what we have from women. Of course, we understand this because in some research fields, the proportion of women is quite low. So, of course, women are overloaded with other activities and they have to be selective in what they accept. But we need to make an effort, despite the time pressure that we have to recruit panel members to serve, that one for each woman that says no, we still go and try to reinvite another woman and not just try the easiest solution, which is to perhaps invite a man. And another goal is to continue the dialogue that we have with scientific societies, which is extremely important because this is the way to get feedback from the scientific communities that we are actually serving, and to learn what we can do, how we can improve, and in a way to continue building a trustworthy relationship. So regarding key learnings, I would say that positive results, as we have here, I'm often asked, what do you think was the action that the ERC has taken that was produced most positive results? In fact, I don't think I can identify one single action. I think there is a cumulative effect of various actions, but I also think that there is an important effect of the trust that the candidates have. That they trust that this, if they apply, they will have a fair chance. So they may not be funded, but in the end, they think it's worth it to apply and to see that we do our best. We brief our panel members, we raise awareness, we try the best we can. And for sure, the work is never done. Huh? And we, as I said before, we will continue vigilant and try always to improve. So feedback is always welcome from the scientific communities. So just to finalize, a sort of a takeaway messages, I would say the most important thing is to know your demographics, so know your data. That is the most important starting point. You may actually be surprised. At some point, you may actually realize, finally, you're not so bad as people may claim, or as you may even have thought that you were. But it's also a way to point in the direction. Where should you go? Based on the data that you have, what should be your next actions in order to tackle and to have an impact and to have positive results in the future. Sharing inspirational stories and role models are really important because they give hope. You know, as they say, if you can't see it, you can't be it. You can't dream it because you don't believe that you have a chance. But if you see people like you getting funded, you will trust that it can happen to you too. And discuss challenges, present the data, but be focused on positive message. Remember that most of us do not want to be martyrs. There is such an important aspect of the stereotype threat. So be very careful when you present the data, how you present it, and at what stage and to who you're presenting your data. And just one final message. Remember, it was never a dress. So thank you very much for this invitation, and I'll be joining the discussion.